Hello everyone, and welcome. Lucy and I are out tonight for an overnighter. Anne has a party with her co-workers. It's almost the end of the school year, and they want to have a celebration. So Lucy and I are taking the opportunity to come out for an overnighter. I've been eyeballing this spot. We've passed by it quite often, and I think it would be a great spot for me to set up a tarp with the idea that I have, which you will see later, and spend a night here. We have one problem though. This is where I would like to do that tarp setup. Right above it. See this tree? It has broken and fallen, and it is hanging right above where I want to put the tarp. So it has snapped off there and fallen and got hung up right above where I want to go. And it's way too big for me to be able to deal with. It's too high off the ground. And we're in a fire ban, so I didn't really bring a big enough saw to do that. Now, if I was here with the silky katana boy, I would probably attempt it. So now, instead of camping near these beautiful rocks, we're going to go further down the trail. Now I've got a cooler full of stuff because this spot is actually not that far from the car. I was expecting a short walk. No problem. Let's bring a heavy load. Yeah. Deadfall right above where I want to sleep? Not a good idea. So let's carry this heavy load further down the trail. Made it. This, I believe, is going to be our best option. We have another option, but further back down the trail. I stopped by there to check it out. It's a little bit softer ground. Would be an easier setup, but there's no breeze. Here, we're on the point of a rock, and we usually have a breeze coming through, which will help keep some of the mosquitoes away. The first thing we got to do is get our ridge line up. So here's the plan, and I'm kind of making this up as I go. I was hoping to get at least one tarp camping night before the mosquitoes started. Unfortunately, it got warmer than I thought, a lot faster than I thought. And the mosquitoes have arrived. So, I have my one Tigris iron wall hot tent. And this is the half inner. With the bug net. So my plan is to set this up and then hang the tarp over top. That way I've got a nice bug-free zone for me and Lucy to lay down in. So I've got it somewhat staked out. The stakes are not in the greatest, but they look like they're going to hold. Now let's see if we can get the tarp on there. I brought out my East Hills Outdoors tarp. Not sure how this is going to work, but let's see if we can figure something out. Note to self, just because the plan works in your head doesn't mean it's going to work when you get out in the field. So that took a few tries, and the wind decided to change directions just a little bit and make life a little difficult. But that's okay. We've got it somewhat figured out. There's only one little problem left to deal with. So I've got the tarp sorted out in a rectangular formation. But every time the wind blows, it pushes the bug net forward now because the wind seems to be changing direction. Our biggest problem is right here. This is where our head goes, and the bug net keeps sagging down right where my face is going to be. But I think I have a cure for that. I have a piece of paracord with a loop in it, and on the back of the bug net here there's a toggle that attaches when I use it with the iron wall tent. Well, I'm just going to put the loop around that, bring it to this corner, put it through the eye of the tarp, bring it up to the ridge line, and slide it in behind this toggle. And here is a loop so that when I open the screen, I can roll up the door and there's a toggle inside that'll hold the door open. I'm just going to run this chunk of paracord right through there. Wrap in one, wrap in the second time, wrap a third time around the outside, add in a half hitch, and now I can snug this up, and that'll keep the net off my face when I'm laying down in there. So I've got just an old sleeping pad. I spared you the boredom of blowing that up. And I brought out a wool blanket. And that's what I'm going to be sleeping with tonight. Inside this wool blanket, I have also rolled in Lucy's bed. She's got her rubber mat. And her blanket. I will put those back there because she's tiny. She can sleep in that little corner. I go open up this wool blanket. It's folded in 3 for when I roll it, but I just want it folded in 2 so that I'm going to have the wool blanket underneath me with enough to pull over the top if I'm cold, which I don't think I will be. It's quite warm now, and the nights aren't getting cold anymore, so we should be perfectly fine in here. Lucy has found a cozy little spot to rest. So now that we've got the tarp sorted, I'm gonna set up my chair. There we go. And now, seeing as there's a fire ban, I don't have to cut any firewood. I don't have to play with anything sharp. So I'm going to have a double up, a coffee milk stout. And if I'm going to have a treat, maybe I'm going to give Lucy one of her Vitalife hand-wrapped real duck and sweet potato twists. Break out her bowl. Hey. Good girl. Give her a little bit of water. Now, like I said, I was planning on being fairly close to the car, so I brought the big cooler full of stuff. The original plan, I was bringing a steak. I was cooking it over the fire. It was going to be fantastic. And then this week, they called for a fire ban. So, I had already seasoned the steak and froze it. So I just brought out my little gas stove and my cast iron pan. And we're going to attempt to cook the steak on a little gas stove. We'll see how that goes later. The weather warmed up drastically in the last 2 weeks, and the mosquitoes came out something fierce. I'm okay right here. I've got a breeze blowing through and it's keeping them away. I get the odd one. It is. Dockerel. I get the odd one, but not as bad as it was walking through the trail to get in here. Oh, I was being swarmed. When I first got here, there was a bit of a breeze. There wasn't too many. And then the wind died down just a little bit. And the back of my pack was covered in mosquitoes. As soon as the wind picked up a bit again, that was it. They've all been pushed further back into the woods. Hey, not often we get to relax out here, is it? No. Usually I don't get to pet you much because I'm busy. Busy cutting the firewood. I get to pet you after all the work is done. Today, the work is pretty much done. I thought I'd have to play with the fire pit quite a bit more to get set up so that it'll hold the pan, but with the rocks that were in the fire pit that were here, I was able to set it up half decent. I'll show you that when we're getting ready to cook supper. But for now, the bed is ready, and it's way too early to go to bed. Wow, you are shedding. So we're going to be in for a cozy night. The breeze does a good job of keeping the mosquitoes away while it's blowing. The second the wind drops, the mosquitoes find me and swarm again. But I brought out the thermocells. So I'm thinking I may turn one on. And lay it just behind my chair here so that I'm blocking the wind from it. Hopefully that'll take care of some of the mosquitoes and the black flies. I have a second one. Right now the wind is blowing right through the tarp setup. But later on, before I get ready for bed, I'm going to light one and put it under the tarp and leave it there for 45 minutes to an hour before I go to bed, and hopefully that'll clear any mosquitoes away from the door so that I can get inside without bringing mosquitoes in with me. One can hope. I also brought some mosquito coils with me, but with how dry everything is, I've got a steel container to put it in, but I'd still rather not light it if I don't have to. If they get super crazy and I need to, I will just make sure I put it somewhere safe. It's almost 5:30. I'm gonna start cooking dinner soon. It's gonna get interesting. Big cast iron pan. Tiny little stove. But like I said earlier, the plan was to come out and cook a steak over the campfire. I bought the steak. I put garlic powder and Montreal steak spice on it. I put it in a Ziploc bag and I threw it in the freezer in the hopes that this weekend I would come out, bring the steak, cook it over the fire. Now, a couple of days ago, they called for the fire ban. Now I've got a steak ready to go and I can't have a campfire. And with how dry it's been, and I'm not seeing any rain in the forecast for a while, I don't want to leave the steak in the freezer for too long. So I decided, what the hell, we'll try it. We'll bring the little mini stove and see if we can heat up a big cast iron pan and cook our steak. I strategically rearranged the fire pit. Hopefully it'll work. I've gone and filled the Dollarama bucket with water. I'm about to set up the stove in its little hidey hole and see how that works. There. Nice and sturdy. So now that that's getting hot, I cut up an onion and some mushrooms. Get that in there, get that to start cooking. So now that the onions and mushrooms have started to cook down a little bit, I'm gonna move those off to the side a little. Make a bit of room and add our steak. And now I turn off the heat. Give that a bit of a stir. Turn over that steak again and just let it rest a few minutes. But now I'm going to get Lucy's bowl. Unfortunately, she's getting a little older and she can't handle. I was going to pick her up another small steak and I completely forgot, and she can't handle the spices that are on that one. So she's getting her regular kibble. But like I said earlier, I brought her out sweet potato, wrapped with duck. So I'll add a few of those into her bowl. There you go. Oh, and while I let that rest, I'm going to have a Hop City barking squirrel. Let's see how these onions and mushrooms turned out. Perfect. Lucy just went and buried a treat under the camera. Typical. Now, I want to be very careful with this steak. I want to use my knife, but I don't want to scratch up the pan. Aha. Slide spatula under steak. And cut away. Oh, perfect. Still a little pink in the middle. Just look at that. Well, that was delicious. Belly is full. Lucy's got a belly full of treats. Dishes have all been washed. And now we're just sitting back, relaxing again, finishing off this squirrel. We still got plenty of time before the sun goes down. So I think we're going to walk around and see if we can find anything interesting to take pictures of. If we do find anything interesting, I'll insert a few pictures somewhere here. I brought out that little Bluetooth speaker that I have, thinking that because I've got no firewood to cut, I don't have as much to keep busy today. The music might be nice. Then I got out here. I've got a woodpecker down over here somewhere, pecking at a tree once in a while. And I've got all kinds of chickadees flying around and singing their song. I just haven't had the need to turn on the radio. I'm actually just sitting back and enjoying the sounds of nature, which really is what I like doing. The music is nice to have once in a while, but more often than not, I prefer to just listen to the birds. Listen to the wind. It's peaceful. It's calm. It's a great way to unwind from the work week. Before it gets too dark, I'm going to take that cooler and I'm going to walk it back a couple 100 yards that way. I'm not going to hang it a bazillion feet in the air like they say you should. My motto is, doesn't matter where I put it, even if it's a bazillion feet in the air. If I've got it 12 feet in the air, 6 feet away from a tree, 6 feet away from a branch, blah, 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 like I'm supposed to, if the bear smells it and wants it, he's going to sit under there and try and figure out how to get to it. He may not get it, but he's going to try. I put it on the ground and tie it to a tree. The bear decides he's going to get it. He's going to get it. He's going to take off with it. And when I get up in the morning, if I go back there and it's gone, the cooler's gone and so's the bear. I can look around a little bit. Whatever remnants I find, I pick up because I don't want to leave garbage behind. Then I just pack up and go home. If I got no food, I pack up and I leave. That's it. That's all. But so far, touch wood, it hasn't happened. Wherever I stash my cooler, when I go back the next day, it's usually always been there. If I was closer to the car, I would walk it all the way back to the car and lock it in the car. Then I really have no worries. So a lot of people have said to me, how do you go camping during a fire ban? If you can't have a campfire, what's the point of camping? And to those people I say, you just have to get creative. Dollarama string of lights. Couple of AA batteries and there we go. Okay, it's not exactly a campfire, but it's more colorful and I don't get smoke in my eyes. Well, before it gets too dark, I think I'm going to go stash the cooler at the other end. And it's 9:30 now, so it'll be dark soon. I'll be able to crawl into bed, read my book for a while, get Lucy and I out of these black flies. I'll see you guys in the morning. I've got my my small little Coghlan's camping grill that I supported over these two rocks just because this pot was a little bit too tippy on top of the stove. I've got that turned way down. I'm going to let that simmer for just a few minutes. Oh. Well, it was a good night. At least most of it was. Around 4 o'clock this morning, I woke up and my feet were cold. Wrapped them up as tight as I could in that wool blanket. Didn't matter. Oh, I warmed them up a little bit, managed to get back to sleep, woke up at 6 and they're still cold again, so. Oh well. But I think it's due to the fact that the last 2 weeks have warmed up really quick, and the ground is still cold. I should have brought a thicker sleeping pad. That one has 0 R value. It's comfortable, but it's got 0 R value. Oh. Oh. Just after I turned the camera off last night, the black flies got nasty out here. I had both thermocells and 2 mosquito coils going, and they didn't care one bit. They weren't too bad until I went to stash the cooler. And I think they found me out there and they followed me back. So it didn't take very long after that. Lucy and I crawled into the tent and I read my book for a while. But it was still a great night, cold feet and all. Oh. And in just a little bit, we're going to bust out the pan and see if we can't make some sausage and eggs. Oh, isn't coffee wonderful? Break out the pan, add some olive oil. Now I have here 3 mild Italian sausage. Now that the sausages are done, it's time for a couple of eggs. Time for breakfast. Scrambled eggs have turned out beautifully. Mm. Oh yeah. Mm. A few added mosquitoes for flavoring, and that's a great breakfast. As soon as I finished cooking, the mosquitoes just swarmed around here. Oh well. So now we are at the point where it's time to pack up and get ready to head out. It was a great trip, mosquitoes and all. Food was fantastic. I'm glad we made this trip out. I will, however, next time remember to bring some citronella oil or some bug spray or something. I don't like to wear the bug spray, but I will remove my hat, spray some on my hat, maybe spray a little bit on an overshirt, and that usually is enough. But thanks for coming along. It's been great having you with me. And if you like what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more of it, hit the subscribe button. If you're going to do that, you may as well hit the notification bell. It'll let you know whenever we put out a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.